So joining us next is Gillian Channer, Senior Director Business Operations for Oracle EMEA. Gillian has worked in IT for over 23 years, joining Oracle at the end of 1995. Since then, Gillian has moved up through the company in a range of roles, always working to help customers at all levels of the organizations to select the best solutions to meet their business needs. In 2010, Gillian took on the responsibility of leading business operations for the UK and Ireland, where she found that leading change can be as simple as doing the same thing smarter to achieve measurable gains. At the start of 2013, Gillian was asked to expand her UK and Ireland success to EMEA and is currently responsible for driving governance across EMEA sales functions to ensure EMEA strategy is implemented successfully and EMEA-wide targets are met. In addition, Gillian is also responsible for leading career paths within EMEA operations to attract, develop, and retain top talent within the operations function. Please join me in welcoming Gillian Channer.
And good afternoon, ladies. First of all, thank you to the London Business School for this warm invitation. But also, I'm delighted to be here to share this time and this day with you. I mean, the speakers and the panel members, haven't they been fabulous so far? And I think the gems that you can take away, each of you will have your favorites that you're making notes of to say, I need to do that. I've been doing the same because we never, ever stop learning. And in fact, I should probably start by going to get my clicker, so bear with me while I do that. And I work in technology, and you'd like to think that I can manage these things, so I have to be careful. You know, when I was thinking about the title for today's presentation, I thought of, should I come up with something very creative and innovative, given the theme is all about change? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized it's actually very simple, because change is inevitable. And in fact, I've simply said, it's inevitable. And to make that point, I thought, well, let's just talk very quickly about some of the areas of change that we all experience in business all the time, because that's our common ground, if you like, to start with. If I can think back to my mid-teens or thereabouts, I always said to myself there are several things that I wanted to achieve in my career. I wanted to be a programmer. Now, that's showing my age, because I think it was perhaps somebody, I think it might have been Linda, that talked about job titles that change over the years. I think it's now called the very prestigious software engineer. But I was a programmer. I wanted to be a programmer. I wanted to be a teacher. And I wanted to write a book. These were three things that I knew I wanted to do. I didn't know much else, but I knew those things. A new job is something that we all experience at some time in our career. You know, the roller coaster, the excitement, the scariness, the not knowing what you don't know, experience of change. We've all been there. We all understand it. We relate to it. New manager and peer. You know, I think the majority of you before me will be familiar with Tuckman's model, the model about how teams develop. You know, the forming, storming, norming, and performing. And it's all about how we get a team, a small group of people, to become performing teams. It never ceases to amaze me that you can have just one change in the team, new manager, new peer, or you may even be that person in the organization you're working with today. And the fact that you still have to go through that process. It may not take as long, but you still have to go through that process. And I guess the point I'm simply making there is don't beat yourself up when you're in the storming stage. It's inevitable. You kind of have to go through it. People trying to find their role where they fit in. It's normal. So accept it, but it will get to the next phase of norming at some point soon. So just bear with it. New business focus. I don't know how many of you know Oracle, the company that I work for, but in the last 10 years or so, we've been on a very aggressive acquisition strategy. And in fact, in the last 10 years, we've probably acquired about 80 companies in that time. That's transformational change. And if I look back at the company that I joined in '95 and the company that I'm working for today, that brings a whole host of challenges. It's exciting, by the way, that rate of change and being part of that and right in the center of it. But it's also challenging keeping your knowledge up to speed with what that means and articulating that. Because so many times our customers know more than we do. And we've got to make sure that we are right on point with the message of what that means to Oracle. New technology and business processes. Again, if you follow Oracle, back in the early 2000s, we decided to eat our own dog food, if you like, and run our business using our own software. And in fact, we implemented our own ERP and CRM systems, for example. And we could take what was a 2-week cycled manual paper-based expenses system that turned into what it is today, where you can submit an expense claim on Monday, and by Wednesday, the money's in your accounts. It's like amazing what technology can do. That's 2 plugs for Oracle, by the way. It's been filmed, I have to do it. I'm only joking. New location. Do you know what? Don't underestimate that one. One of my first jobs, my early jobs in my career, was literally a 20-minute round trip each day to get to work. And I took that for granted. I said to myself, do you know what? It's boring. You know, I want to go and see the world. When I joined Oracle, at the time it was based in Bracknell, that became overnight a 3-hour round trip minimum. And you can do that for so long before you have to say time out. Because that starts to take its toll in so many ways. Your home life, your stress levels, your enjoyment, things that were fun stop being fun. So you've got to have that self-awareness that people talked about this morning to say, at some point, let's say, this is not working for me. And there's lots of things you can do about it, but it's just talking about we all experience change all the time. And that's fine. We've got our common ground, if you like. But what's my story? What's my story of change in my career? And more importantly, what have I learned from it that I can share with you as takeaways from my personal experience? So let's rewind the clock. 23 or thereabouts, 23 years ago, when I joined or had my first job in IT. Do you remember my 3 dreams? One of them to be a programmer. My first job was as a programmer. And you know what? I've heard people say several times this morning, there's nothing quite like doing a job that you're passionate about. It's fabulous. You wake up in the morning and you've got a smile on your face because you're going to go and do a job that you love, and you can't fault it. And I will always encourage everyone in this room to find jobs, find things that you do that you are passionate about, because it's fabulous. People talked about the effect it has on your family when they see you happy. It's absolutely true. You glow. I had someone at work tell me I walk differently. Even with this new job, because the job that I'm in now, I literally have just started it. Officially on the 1st of January. I actually started it in December, and I kind of helped with the job that I'm currently doing until literally yesterday. Nevertheless, there's nothing quite like it. But for those of you that work in industries like IT, where the rate of change is very, very quick, you may find yourself in the situation that I suddenly found myself in, and I'm not sure how many of you, because it's in the bottom left here, can see what that's saying. I suddenly woke up one day several years into a job that I loved and realized my skills had become dated. And that's a scary prospect, because I was working for a small company. So what was I going to do? I can't move up in the company because there aren't really that many jobs in IT. And I now have skills that no one's asking for anymore. You know, they were great 3-4 years ago, but they're not great anymore. Fortran programming skills. Some of you here don't even know what that is, which really scares me. But that's the reality of the situation I was in. But little did I know change was coming, because it always does. It's inevitable, as I said. And that change came in the form of my company being acquired by another. And I know that many of you would have been in that situation as well. Thanks to Oracle, I think, in many ways, but many of you have been in that situation as well. At that point, there are several choices. And if you like, I can break it down into 2 choices. I could think about what might happen if I stayed. What opportunities, what doors might be open, the world of opportunity might be open to me if I just stick around and see what might happen with this particular type of change. Or you might have the feelings that you can relate to there. You're working for a company that you love working for. You're working with people that you really enjoy working with. And the thought of change makes you think, it's never going to be the same again. I'm off. I had to make a decision. Should I stay? Or should I go? What do you think I did? I stayed. And I'm so glad I stayed, because these two different companies had two completely different IT systems. And they decided that in order for us to merge them, we were going to go into and adopt a best-of-breed IT strategy. And many of you will have other IT strategies in your business. Another common one is the single vendor approach, where you might say you standardize on maybe a handful of vendors, and that's the solution that you take to drive your business. Oracle does that. We also had, and this is what my company did, we took the best-of-breed approach. And that's where you say, right, for database, we want Oracle. And that's what this company did. For desktop, we want Microsoft, and so on and so forth. Final plug, I promise. Oracle does best-of-breed as well. It's all about choice. But I'm not going to do any more plugs with Oracle at all, I promise. The point is, that best-of-breed consolidation from that change that I waited around to see the relevance of for me, resulted in IT retraining for me. And that suddenly meant that I could now obtain marketable skills. And that was an exciting time for me. I was back on the map in an industry that I loved. And so, an opportunity was coming. Let me just park that opportunity for a second. Remember I said we decided to say the database of choice was Oracle. So I was sent on Oracle training courses. I think someone around here, sitting around here this morning, talked about a business that they're running in Richmond. I actually attended training courses in Oracle's offices in Richmond. They don't have them there anymore, but that's where I attended. And you know, it's funny how these opportunities come about when you don't plan them. Because I remember sitting on those training courses, SQL, PL SQL, and Forms, and watching the trainer, and I thought, I could do that. I would love to do that. It never dawned on me when I used to have my dream of being a teacher that an IT trainer was actually a job. It never even entered my mind that that was a job that somebody would be paid to do. But I thought, I want that job. And so I went away and I took my skills in Oracle and I developed them in the industry that I was working in. And that opportunity was waiting to be found. And it came about 13 or 14 months after I started my Oracle journey. Oracle advertised an IT trainer recruitment evening. Now I'm going to pause for a second and tell you a very funny story about that. It was in the evening. So it was around about 6:30 or so. They expected me to drive from the southeast, where I live, to the southwest in Bracknell, where this training recruitment evening was taking place. All I can say is motorways. That's what I had to contend with. I got lost. I was late. They phoned. They got hold of my husband. My husband said, told me she's on her way. They started talking to my husband about his skills. And you know, he was offered the job and joined Oracle 3 weeks before me. No word of a lie. Just because I was late for this trainer recruitment evening. But it's no surprise to say I got the job, and that began my Oracle journey. And in actual fact, if we go through my journey at Oracle, obviously I got to realize my dream as a trainer. So that's, if you like, as close as you can get to a teacher. So I was my programmer, and I was a teacher. And then I had various roles, as was said at the beginning, selling to IT departments, selling to the boardroom. And when I say selling internally, in ops, especially when you're supporting the sales function, and kind of trying to tell them how to do their job, and they don't like that. So I had to learn how to speak in their language of value. So if I'm going to give you a helping hand, I better be giving you a helping hand in a way that matters to you. And that's what I learned in my customer-facing roles, how to speak in the language of my customer. Because it's different in IT versus the boardroom, versus many other places. They were my 17 years. So that's a quick sort of roller coaster ride of my career. What did I learn? What have I learned? I'm just going to finish off with my top 5 lessons that I have learned from embracing change over the years in my career in IT. Number 1, it's kind of obvious when you see it there, but I got lost in my passion for my job. Keep your skills current and relevant for your chosen job, industry or profession. I kind of don't need to elaborate on that, it's clear, right? Number 2, there will come a time when you've outgrown your job and or your employer. Act. Now notice I didn't say leave, I said act. Because what I've also found in my career personally, because as I said, yours may be different to mine, is that sometimes it's the challenge that's gone out of the job that you're doing, not the passion for the job that you're doing. So ask for more responsibility. Go with a plan, go with the value of the plan, and ask for more, because sometimes the answer isn't to leave, but just to ask for more. And that's what I've done sometimes in my career. So act. Do something. Don't just sit around and let it fester. Number 3, give change a chance, but act if it's not working. Let me very quickly tell you the story of 3 years into being a trainer at Oracle. I was tired from all the travel. Remember I told you about the journey and traveling all over the UK, sometimes into Europe as well. I was tired. So I took, when I say a break, I actually spent 6 months on a temporary assignment, course writing, curriculum development. Do you know what that did? It gave me the opportunity to realize my 3rd dream. I was the co-author, now wait for this, it's a fancy title, of the Oracle Designer 6i Web Design and Generation course. Woohoo! Fantastic. It's got my name on it. Gillian Channer is a co-author of that book. So I've realized my 3rd dream. They were the worst 6 months of my life. I hated it. And it's not the actual writing that I hated. It was just the process of how we do curriculum development. It just wasn't me. Sitting at a desk all day, every day. That's not how I get excited. And so I had the opportunity to stay, but I knew I tried it. I didn't like it, but I got my book. But I had to move on. So be honest with yourself. If it's not working, move on, but do give it a try. Number 4, don't let emotion make decisions for you. You can't help but bring emotion into your decisions, but don't let that be the only factor. When you make decisions, think about why, think about who, how many, think about all the reasons why, not just don't like it anymore. It's got to be more than that. And finally, and this is my last point, many of you will love the sayings of Sun Tzu, but this is perhaps by far my favorite. And many of you have seen this before, so this is not unique to me. Strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. You could argue that in my very first job as a programmer, I was so busy enjoying it and just doing my job, I wasn't thinking about the future. You could argue that I led myself into a position of defeat. Now, I was fortunate that I was able to turn that around by chance, but it doesn't always work that way. I was lucky. So plan. Have a plan, and also know what you're going to do to achieve that plan. That's all that's saying. And everyone's been saying that today. So I'll leave you with one final thought, because I've seen the 1-minute warning. I'll leave you with this final thought. So far from what I've seen in my career and my life to date, however you feel about change, whether you love it or you hate it, it's inevitable. So you may as well embrace it. Thank you very much.
Again, we have a few minutes for questions, so who would like to start?
Stunned silence.
A glass of wine afterwards for anyone who'd like to start.
It's the food.
Hi, Cheryl Lockhab.
Hi.
Sloan Programme LBS. You're going into this new phase now in your new role, and you sound and look very excited about it. What is it about the role that makes you so passionate?
Oh, gosh, what a good question. What is it about the role I'm about to start that makes me so excited and passionate? First of all, it's the recognition of the work that I've done so far in the last 3 years. There's nothing quite like being valued in your role. Also, this role didn't exist before. So this is a role that has been created because of what I've done in the UK. And that makes me feel so honoured that Oracle has invested in me in that way. And also, the manager that I'm working for gets me. And he said, Gillian, this is what I want you to do. And he's given me this scope that's like this. Sorry, that's not, it's the wrong way around. Yeah, it is. It's, I want you to do this, but he hasn't told me anything else. So it's now up to me to go and make that job a success. We need to make sure that throughout EMEA, that the operations function is helping the business succeed through the implementation of our strategy. What do you do next? I love that blank page because I love a challenge, and he gets that. So that's what it's about me. It's appealing to all the things that get me motivated, and I found a manager that gets that. And I think I found in my career that when you choose the job and the manager at the same time, you tend to get a good outcome. It's as important to choose a good manager as much as the job you want to choose. That's what I found. I hope that answers your question. Okay.
I'm a headhunter with a strong expertise in diversity. Mm-hmm. And one of my greatest frustrations, I've been doing this for a long time now, is how few women I meet of color who are ambitious and driven. And even looking around this room, you know, there are very few women like you here.
Yeah.
So I'd love your thoughts on how you've mastered that pipeline and what all of us can do here to help bring up women of color who are junior and deserve the same opportunities.
Oh, wow, what a question. Fabulous question. I think for me it always starts in the home. You know, I'm not unique here. I had a very strong mother who always wanted the best for me and taught me so many lessons: respect everyone, fear no one, and all of these things that she taught me at a very young age. And I think that learning, I can't say I was afraid of failure, but I was fearless, if you know what I mean. I still was afraid of failure, but things that I didn't think twice about, that others would hesitate, I would just go and give it a try. And sometimes it worked. Sometimes it really didn't at all. But I learned from it. You know, I had a manager that used to say to me, if you're going to fail, fail often, fail fast. And it's true, because that's the only way you're going to learn. If you have this big, you know, bubble of fear inside of failure, you'll never realize skills. I actually didn't start my management career in Oracle until 12 years into my tenure, because I never saw myself as a leader. What a waste. I remember saying to myself, I didn't know it was there. But less than 3 years into my management career at Oracle, I was a member of the UK board. And I don't say that to show off. I say that to say, if I could do that because of focus, then what could anyone do? So to come back to the, how can we help other women of colour? I guess it's because I choose not to see myself as a woman of colour. And this is going to sound really odd. I also choose not to see myself as a woman. I see myself as somebody who is motivated by doing things, and I go get on with it. And I actually resisted being members of diversity groups at work, because I think unless you're in my situation, it's perhaps hard to relate to it. An employee satisfaction survey, I could never be anonymous, because I was in a group of people where I was the only black female. Even in the role that I'm now, I'm the only black female. You know, there's no uniqueness about me, so I hate labels, and I've always resisted them until someone said to me once, Gillian, but it's not about you, it's about what you can give back. There are things that you've learned, and people want to hear about those things. And that's what really was the light bulb moment for me. It's about the giving back. And so maybe my responsibility as a black female who has progressed her career, I need to give back to other ethnic minorities to say, listen, there's nothing to stop you but you, so go for it. So maybe that's my responsibility, my challenge. So great question, thank you.
I think we have time for one more.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you very much. It's been quite interesting hearing you. Could you tell us a little bit about your mentors, of the people who crossed your path career-wise that has perhaps helped you to reach where you are now? Thank you.
You know, it's interesting because I haven't had many female mentors. The mentors that have had the biggest impact on me have actually been male mentors. Now, it could be because I've worked in an industry that is largely male-dominated, so it's kind of inevitable in some respects. But it's finding people that get you. And it's interesting, I was speaking to Sue just after lunch, and she was talking about these 2 stages of your career, where you've got the stage where you're developing yourself and it's all about you and your progression and so on. But at some point in time, there's the legacy piece, where it stops being about you and it's more about what you're going to leave behind, what legacy you're going to leave. And I think finding mentors that are the legacy people are the ones that have given me the most, because they're in the legacy stage of their career when I was in the sort of development stage, and they're the people that I have found for me personally that really genuinely see those things in me, or saw things in me that I simply didn't see at all. And I remember him saying, when I first took up my first management position, he said, "You've finally seen what everyone saw all along." And so I'm saying, don't take 12 years like I did. You know, get those mentors that are at the legacy stage, because they're the ones that genuinely want to give back. They've got no agenda other than helping you develop. And that's an amazing thing. And, you know, I think those people deserve special recognition, because it's selfless. I think it's a nice place to end, actually, as well. Okay? Thank you very much.